and we continue the conversation of creating high achievement in our schools. And there's really no better person to talk to about that than North Carolina's Teacher of the Year, James Ford. Thank you for joining us again on North Carolina Now.
Thanks for having me again.
As we saw in the piece before, we see Dr. McCoy looking at ways strategically to impact her school. And one of those ways was by bringing in male staff in the elementary school setting, bringing in teaching assistants and staff that serve as role models and give the culture a little bit of a shift. Talk about why this is important.
I think I really think it's difficult to understate or overstate rather the importance of having role models there. To be able to see something goes far beyond just concept in the abstract sense, and for students, particularly students of color, those of poverty, you need to see somebody who can model for you what the expectation is. And you can be told so many times, but there's a certain capital, there's a certain currency that somebody who looks like you from your background perspective, particular subgroup, has when they fulfill that role, and it ignites in you personally as a student a sense that you can do it, that it's possible. So it's a smart move to make.
When do you see this really impacting kids? When do you see this really taking hold when you're trying to inspire them? What ages?
I think from birth, really, students, particularly in the early years, are hardwired to absorb, to learn everything, and so much of the personality is being formed and developed that to see individuals who share characteristics with you is of critical importance. It shapes your identity, it shapes your self-image, and in many cases, it shapes your worth. You know what you think that you are worthy of, what you're capable of, and so as soon as you can get worthy role models, individuals to exhibit that sort of behavior early on, it's critical for that sort of track or foundation to be laid.
When we look at creating high achievement, why is it most likely tied to a leader in many cases? Why do you need that instructional leader to sort of create that shift?
Well, leaders are gatekeepers, and so if you show me a successful school, one that's thriving, one that's achieving, I bet you I can point you to a leader who's competent, who's leading the charge, who's doing what they need to do to help push that school forward. And so you're in charge of so much. There's so many moving pieces to education, but the hiring practices, the setting of the climate, the culture, the expectations, all of that falls under the auspices of the leader. And so they're critical in making sure that you move that entire school and its students forward. And so leadership, school leadership is just a major piece of that puzzle. And you have to be deliberate about who you have in that position.
As the Teacher of the Year, you've been traveling North Carolina. What are you seeing in the schools that's innovative that you think is making a difference when it comes to keeping kids in school and inspiring them to go on to college?
I see schools responding to their needs because education does not look the same as it does in Charlotte, in say Person County, or say in Haywood County, or perhaps in Cumberland County. It looks different depending on where you go. However, those particular set of circumstances, teachers and school leaders are gathering data and they're saying, "Hey, what can we do that's new, that's adventurous, that's perhaps a risk, but suits the needs of our students," and not being afraid to try something different. Education doesn't look the same as it did when I was in high school, or even for folks who graduated 5 years ago. So that constantly evolving and changing atmosphere is one that I think teachers are responding to, and it gives you hope because it shows that people are paying attention.
You say that you're passionate about getting kids inspired. What do you see in the future for North Carolina? What do we need to do to ignite that fire and to keep kids in school?
Well, first and foremost, I think you have to um, acknowledge your areas of greatest need. When you talk about males, particularly males of color, um, I think that's the truest barometer of how we're doing as a state, because so often those are the subgroups that tend to lag at the bottom. So if you can bring those groups up, it stands to reason that we can bring up the rest of the state as well. And being deliberate and intentional about that approach, recognizing some of the latent or root causes that create some of the most systemic problems. I don't think that the problem is that there's something wrong with kids, that they can't learn. I reject that narrative. I think that it's about learning and understanding the environments that they come from, all the contributing factors, and taking seriously that task, deploying whatever resources we can as we can, early in childhood. And those are the things that I think in years to come will reap rewards, but you have to have an all hands on deck, by any means necessary approach to lifting all students up.
In the documentary 180 Days Hartsville, we look at a small South Carolina town, not unlike many towns across North Carolina, struggling to see how they can revamp and do some education reform. And it ends up coming from outside, from the community taking part. Why is this so important? Why are community stakeholders important and parent involvement in the schools?
Well, you know what? I think you just used the term stakeholders. Everybody has a stake. Everybody's invested, whether they feel that way or not. It doesn't matter if you have children or you don't have children, or if your children in private school or whatever the case may be. The latent effects of a quality education, they benefit everybody, because when young folk are educated, when they feel that they have utility, when they feel they can contribute and they can realize their dreams, they're gonna contribute to society in a positive way. And conversely, if they don't have those things, if they don't feel valued, if they don't have outlets, um, they're not going to contribute, or they may even be destructive. And so that's a cost, a human cost that we all have to bear. And so we all have skin in the game, and we have to make sure that we're invested and involved in making sure that education does what it's supposed to do.
As North Carolina's teacher of the year, as you've traveled, what has been the most surprising thing or the most interesting thing that you've seen so far?
I think the most interesting thing is that no matter where I go, what the constituency is, what the demographics are, what the geographic location is, the kids are kids, and teachers are somewhere teaching, whether they're in the mountains or on the coast. And that magical relationship, that sort of influence that teachers have over the lives of their kids, that doesn't change no matter where you go, regardless of circumstance. Teachers are still out there changing lives and exerting influence, and just helping young people realize their full potential. And it's powerful work to see in motion. And I always enjoyed that. I don't think I'll ever not be amazed by that.
North Carolina Teacher of the Year, James Ford, thank you so much for being with us on North Carolina Now.
My pleasure.